Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Selena, and this is You Plus Happy. Each week, I bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms with a dose of laughter. Remember to like and subscribe to the You Plus Happy podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at You Plus Happy. This week, we have Reem Ali Adeeb, artist and designer living and working in Los Angeles, California. For the past 11 years, she has been working as a designer for TV and film animation. Her previous work includes the Emmy Award-winning shows Harley Quinn, Green Eggs and Ham, and Teen Titans, among others. Welcome, Reem.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Selena.
Thank
I
you for
love the show.
being here. Reem's been here before. You can go back and check out her episode from like 2 years ago. It was so good. You were one of the first guests we had on the show.
Wow, it's still going strong for 2 years. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Congratulations.
Little hiatus, but we're back.
Yeah.
So we'll just jump in. I have the same questions, so we can talk about whatever we want today.
Yeah.
How did you get started in animation?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was born and raised in Syria. So I come from the Middle East. Over there, we don't have a lot of resources for art and animation, but I was honestly privileged. Now I understand like the role of being privileged. It's not everything, but it has a role. My family was privileged enough to have to get me to San Francisco to study animation. I've always wanted to do it, to be honest. Since I was like 9 years old, it's just like I like to sit and draw, and like zone out. I daydreamed about being a designer in an office, and I wasn't good at anything else. My math is terrible. I'm not smart in that way. I'm like more towards like liberal arts and art and language, and like that's what is interesting to me. Anyways, long story short, I came to San Francisco. I studied animation here. We didn't have animation programs in Syria. And after graduation, I did a friend of mine was working in a animation studio here in LA. He sent a test, like they needed a character designer, and the way you get into like these shows is by sending you a description for a character, like as a test, and then you do the designs, and they look at it and they see if you're like a good fit for this show or like for this style or whatever. And luckily I did the test and they liked it, and that's how I moved to LA. And since then, and that's how I get on these like projects. Usually it's some kind of test, or now it's more portfolio. They just see my previous work, but before it was like, yeah. And that's how I started.
How did you even know that animation was a job? Like when I was little and I saw cartoons, I never thought about how they came about. I was like, this just is here. How did you think of it as like, oh, I could do this for a living?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly, it didn't occur to me either. It was my siblings. I have siblings from like my stepmom, my dad's like first marriage. They're much older than me. And they kind of like raised us a little bit. And I think maybe they saw that I'm not like, they're all in business. They're all like smart, not the artistic side. But maybe they were like, well, maybe you can do this, because I wasn't good in other subjects. So my sister Rula was the one who suggested it to me, and it was that light bulbs like, wait, you can do this. She pointed at Tom and Jerry at the time, like Tom and Jerry was on TV, Warner Brothers, and she was like, you should do animation, like draw these these cartoons. And for some reason it just stuck with me. I could not stop thinking about it. So yeah, like even in Syria, I didn't mention, but like during going to art school in Syria, I went for graphic design and visual communication. But I heard there was like offices or like a studio that I was doing animation, and I called them, and I was like, so yeah, like right from the beginning, for some reason, it was like, I guess the answer is like our families, like our siblings.
Yeah. I think, and maybe it's like some things are just meant to be because one, you had people encourage around you who were encouraging drawing, like as a
Yeah,
career. Well, usually that's like something to give kids to do,
I
just to like
know.
distract them. And it's not like encouraged to do something for a living that's considered kind of play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I love that you said, you weren't good at other things, which is no one's good at everything, right? But you
Oh,
leaned in to what you were good at instead of trying to be something that you weren't or try to like ignore this
oh,
talent that was kind of like, it sounds like innate, like, and like you had to cultivate it and work on it and make it better, but it was something you were innately drawn to, and you
yeah.
stuck with it, and you weren't beating yourself up for, oh, I'm not good at math, so that doesn't matter, I'm good at this thing, and I'm going to focus on this and concentrate on this, so rather
Uh-huh.
than thinking about what all the things I can't do.
You know what, Selena? It makes a really interesting point, because I never thought about it this way. I've always thought about, like, I some little bit fulfilled what my family wanted for me. Like they were all like they did business, like they worked as like um in like pharmaceutical, but for animals. Like that's what my family business my yeah, my family's business. And so I think they were like thinking like, oh, we can have one member of the family who is an artist. That would look good. To be honest with you, like that's how it, I think they looked at me, and I fell in line immediately. I was like, finally, I can be somebody. Because I think I had dyslexia and ADHD in school. It was excruciating for me to finish homework.
Mhm.
And even though I loved language and I love writing, I still do. Um, but I just felt like I'm never good enough. So I when I found art, and I was like, oh my God, I can be good at something, I just hung out, clung into it, if
Yeah.
that's a word.
I think it makes perfect sense. I'm glad you like you stuck to it, and again, like not focusing on the things that you didn't do well, and then you found
Mhm.
something that you excelled in, and like pursued it 100%, and you're still doing it to this day, which is like you've been doing it for I know longer than 11 years, not to call out
Yeah.
age.
No, but it's true.
Yeah. So it's something you've been consistent and diligent, and then that huge, I don't want to put words onto you or how you or emotions onto you, but how was it moving from Syria to San Francisco?
Oh, yeah, that was, if I knew what I know now, I would have like thought a lot more about it. I think when we were kids, maybe sometimes like these kind of decisions are good to make with not full knowledge.
Mhm.
Like a
Yeah.
little bit of magic, a little bit of irrationality. I
Mhm.
honestly think it's really important,
Mhm.
because I had no idea what it means to be an immigrant. It's terrifying. It's a lot of work. It's very crazy. And an immigrant, no matter what you are leaving your culture, you are leaving your people. You that's it. Forever you don't belong. I mean, you do, of course you do, but when you go back home, you're like, I don't know, like I'm not exactly in line with these people, and the people in the country you live in, you're like, I'm not completely in line. Now I'm much more like in tune with the Western culture, but when
Mhm.
I first came, yeah, I had to learn everything. Like everything was a cultural shock. I remember when I first came to the airport in San Francisco, when I arrived. You know how it is in airports, like people are so showing affection, uh, like publicly, and like saying goodbye or saying hello, and they're like hugging and embracing and kissing, and that's like really a no-no back in the day in Syria. So the very first, like the moment I step my foot in San Francisco, I see like those two guys kissing, like this really passionate kiss, and I was like, oh my God, like immediately you feel the difference of the cultures.
Wow. Wow. And you did you ever get homesick?
I am constantly homesick. I think the first conversation I've had with you was I was telling you how homesick I am. And I love that. I want to remind you, maybe I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I'm so homesick. I can't travel back to my country.
Mm.
And you were like, why? You should go. And I was like, I can't right now because of my paper. And then you were like, you gave me some tough love. You were like, hey, don't think about things you can't do. Like, focus on the things you can control. And it stays with me till this day, Selena.
I'm so happy. It wasn't me, y'all. I won't take credit. It was something, a vessel. I try to think of myself because sometimes I don't remember saying that,
No,
but
it's your wisdom,
and
actually.
I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'll take credit because Reem told me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it resonated with you. And that's so interesting to make that huge move. And like you said, you didn't know how big of an undertaking it was. And like that kind, like you said, I love that being like a little irrational in some of your
Yeah.
decisions because you wouldn't take those leaps of faith, you wouldn't take those risks if you knew all of what it entailed, right?
Yes, yes.
And that was a huge risk.
I honestly feel like the universe reward people who take risks. I really do, because thank goodness, like if I didn't travel, I wouldn't have been able to get a degree and work and then support my mom. And then we didn't know there was going to be a war. You guys, there is a war in Syria. So like like me leaving was such a blessing because things went down after I left, and I was able to support my mom. So I feel like when we take risks, even when we're not like super rational, um it's not, I mean, obviously you have to like weigh everything and make sure you're doing, like you're not harming yourself, but taking risks usually pays off. I don't know, I hope.
Wow.
You know
I think I don't know, like calculated risks, but that's like for every individual to decide for themselves, right? But for
Yeah.
your experiences, risks have paid off.
Yes, I had. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Was there ever, well, I feel like, was there ever a turning point where you realized you needed to take a different path than what was expected to you? I think you already answered, but
Oh, no, well, I answered you before the episode. Like, it's kind of like what you did. Um, yes, I want to tell you about this. So
Mhm.
in I mean, beginning of this year, in January, the show I was on was like really affecting my mental health in a negative way. It was very difficult, and like you said, I have been in animation my entire life, and it's really scary to do anything else. But I feel like while I love being a designer in animation and I'm really grateful for it, animation is like all about teamwork, all about blending in, all about like the big picture. It's not, you can't have your own voice, like you can't have your own illustrations and your paintings and your drawings out there. You just have to be part of a team. And I think I'm a little burnt out on that aspect. So that turning point, to answer your question, in January, I ended up quitting that job, which was really scary. It's still, I mean, I'm still in it. I'm still in a transitioning, slowly expanding to illustration and want to become like an independent artist. So in January, I quit. I had a couple of freelance, and then I changed. I built my website to showcase like other things, like other than animation. And I decided to start doing personal work. So like personal art that is my own, fully creative control, no clients or anything, which is another risk, which we'll let you know.
if it was worth it.
Hopefully it will pan out. I mean, not hopefully, let's manifest it will pan out.
Yes. They that's also like it sounds like one self-awareness because you felt like you were starting to be burned out, and then with what you were doing with what your job before January, and then honoring that too, because I know I can't speak for everyone, but I know for me, I'll
Mhm.
get burnt out at a place, and I'll know something's over, even not just at work, relationships, a city job. I'll know it's over, and I'll stay until it gets so bad that like it pushes me out, and I'm trying to get ahead of that. And it sounds like I'm trying to have these new behaviors that are like, okay, you see something happening, let's start making an exit plan, or what are we going to do next, instead of just sitting in it and letting it get so bad and treating it almost like there's no other options. But you were
Yes,
proactive.
well, I tend to be this way. Like I think it's an ongoing effort. Like I took this, this chance. Certain other aspects of my life, I linger just like you. So it's really like some battles we win and some battles. But I think this is important for me. I think like that's why I really, because I feel it like how envious I see when I look at other artists. And you know how what they say, like if you feel envy, ask, like that's telling you something. That means you want something, or like you want something for yourself. And that's like, okay, why am I feeling jealous of this artist? Okay, I think I need to pay attention to myself, or like something I want to do. Yeah.
It's so important. I'm so glad you said that, of because I think we look at jealousy as a negative emotion, but really it's not. It's, well, it could be if you go to the side of like being you want to cause that person harm because you're jealous of them. But if you look at it as, what is this telling me? Why am I feeling like this? You get answers. It's an opportunity to learn. And it's so funny. The first person I had on this new round of You Plus Happy, we talked about being haters. And I was like, I've been a hater. Like, everyone
Me
wants to
too.
pretend they're not the hater. Like it's somebody, no, I've been a hater too. And then I
Me too.
and I Googled it, and I read on like Psychology Today or something. It was
Uh-huh.
like all this psychology stuff about jealousy. And it said exactly what you just said, of like, ask yourself what you want. What are you jealous of, and what do you want to change in your life? And then I remember before that happened, the person I was jealous of, they had these traits that I wish that I could cultivate in myself. And then I started working on it.
Oh
And
my God, so eloquent. That's exactly, yeah.
yeah, so that's I love that. And I hope people take away like that jealousy doesn't have to be, because it can feel painful if you don't work with it, with that emotion. And I'm not saying that you can go through this painless life, because that's not realistic, but it's trying to put us somewhere.
Yes, yes. It's telling you something. It's definitely information. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, like it's just information, and like seeing that, and like paying attention to how you feel. Like if it's constantly you're seeing the pattern, you're like, okay, there is something you seek, you need. This is, you're not in the right place. You need to be somewhere else. And then sometimes the right place is, I mean, the wrong place feels safe. It's a safe job that is, there is money, there is benefits, but, and that's sometimes hard to leave. Like you're like, well, I'm crazy to live in this, like in these crazy times, but I I'd rather try it and fail than always think, what if, it's
Right.
terrifying to me. Like it's to just say, what if I have, like, you have to try at least,
Mhm.
yeah.
One of my favorite quotes I heard, Pete Holmes, he said, a life following your dreams isn't pain free, right? And so I think they say, follow your heart, follow your dreams. And I think we equate that to, oh, we're going to have this fun, blissful life of joy. And it does have that. But there are growing pains, and the transitioning and all that stuff.
100%, yeah. I mean, to add to your point, my therapist said that to me, like when I was like contemplating, I don't know, should I do it? She said, it's about not, it's not about like going to a suffering free. It's about choosing a suffering you prefer. Like, do you want to suffer inside a corporate job for the, which some people love and some people thrive, and it's just an example. It doesn't say I'm like saying something negative about corporate job, but like, do, what kind of suffering do you want? Like some people don't want to like hustle for clients or like answer emails or like do all the aspect of business. Some people love to for all this stuff to be figured out for them, and then they get the paycheck and they do their own thing. So it's like it's really depends on your kind of suffering, the one you enjoy. And once you're like I accept there will be suffering, I'm enjoying the suffering of like doing my own emails because I get the the creative freedom, like I paying the price of creative freedom. So it works out, but yeah, no, there will be suffering everywhere you go.
Yeah. For real. And sometimes, and I just want to say really quickly, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like I moved to, and my example is I always wanted to live in Los Angeles since I'm 7 years old and I learned about LA. And I
Uh-huh.
moved to LA in my 20s and I mean, there were good things. I met you. There were some good things. I was there for 6 years, but overall, it was not a good move for me. It was not the place for me. And so some dreams, hey, but I don't
Yeah.
regret the move. Like you said, I would have always been like, what if? And I did learn a lot, but it didn't go anything like I thought it was gonna go.
Oh,
It
and you
really-
you can say now, I lived in LA. You
yeah,
know what it is to live in LA. You gain experience. You like gain a dimension. It's like so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and that's so there's no regrets there, but it was a thing of like it didn't go how I thought. I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
dream place, I'll be here forever. Like, think
But
again.
it's life. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God. Like imagine like yeah, people who don't make mistakes are the ones that don't do anything. Like we're all gonna like try things out and things won't work. So no, I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that. I
yeah.
get FOMO, Selena.
Oh, I do too. I do too. I'm gonna keep taking risks. I take more as I get older. You know what? I just got this. It's like a muscle that the more like if you take a risk, you're more willing to take more. As
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh,
take,
uh-huh.
but this it's the first few, right? It's like working out.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. It never occurred to me.
Yeah.
You're right. It's kind of like you break the seal and then you're not fearful anymore. You're like, I don't care now. I failed, so this is not a scary thing.
Yeah. And then you have a
I
little
love it. I
fear.
love it.
I do. I
I
never
think
thought
it's
about it.
important.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that. Thank you, Reem. This is why I love the show. I
I
love
love the
talking to
show.
you. Um, but we're kind of talking about this already, but like challenges. And so I know you've had challenges along your journey. And so how do you push through?
Mhm. Oh my God, this is such a great question. Okay, pushing through seems to me, I mean, I'm starting to like learn about myself after living alone, but I think discipline
Mm.
I'm an anxious person, so when things get overwhelmed, I find myself sticking to a routine. I find myself waking up early, doing like cleaning the house, walking the dog. Like when I don't know when things get scary to me, I when okay, so I have chronic anxiety.
Mhm.
And my anxiety is the type that I start self attack, like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, And then the antidote to that has been, okay, I'm gonna wake up early, I'm gonna cook at home and not like cook healthy, I'm gonna not smoke weed. And then when I do these things, I cope with the challenges. And most of the time, I feel like the challenges, I don't solve them. I just like duck until they like it's kind of like weathering a storm. So
Yeah.
I just like hunker down. I get disciplined. Like I'm like explaining to you what I'm doing right now because right now we're because of the strikes. Oh yeah, we should tell the listeners like because of the strikes, because of like the streaming wars, it's been a little bit difficult to find animation job, and many of my colleagues and I haven't been working. And I found myself um I found like the way to weather the storm and weather the challenges is with discipline. I find like it calms me down. When I sit and do nothing, or like when my days just drag, I get a lot of anxiety at the end of the day.
full of quotes. One of the quote I repeat a lot is a idle mind is a devil's workshop, right? And so
Oh,
that's like I think it's Napoleon Hill. It's somebody from back in the day. But so and
oh,
I thought about that a lot. So it sounds like you're not distracting yourself, but giving yourself your mind healthy things to do. So the discipline and the routine and
yes, routine, yeah.
going for taking your dog for a walk, which is also you go taking yourself for a walk too,
Yeah,
being
yeah.
in nature, and then making yourself meals that and then that's nourishing your body in more ways than one. And so it's like you're keeping yourself focused on the things that you know work for you.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you have those tools, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I would
I
think,
mean, it's also like it's really important to not isolate. Like, yeah, you I am in my routine, but it's important to not isolate, to connect, to try. Sometimes it's hard, but like to connect with other people, ask for help. I'm so bad at asking for help. If any of the listeners, or if you have any wisdom for me about asking for help, like I want to work on that, because everything is better when like teamwork seems to have better project than personal work. Like personal work is, you always need more people to achieve big things. So I feel like asking for help is like essential, but I have such hard time doing it.
me too. Yeah, I don't know. That's one thing I don't have a lot of wisdom on because I tend to well I'm getting better but in a different way. So I've like I've told you before, Reem, of like I've lived in these different places by myself, and so I might move somewhere and I don't know anyone, kind of like where I am now. Um and one thing that I've seen that helps is like I don't feel like I can ask people for help yet, which I'm sure I could. I have people in my life, but going out to things that I know are in alignment with things that I like or that are important to me. So like there's and I wanted to live in a city with a lot of opportunities and things to do, and Atlanta has those things. And so right now I'm big on networking in the creative spaces because I'm going to meet maybe I can meet people because I want my career to grow. And so it's twofold. I get to meet people in the creative world and I need to meet new people. I guess it's threefold. And I'm like hoping to and I know not everyone, but maybe these could be professional relationships. They could also maybe one day be, personal relationships and be friends. But what it does ultimately is like it eliminates that isolation. So I don't go in
Oh,
those rooms and say, I'm having a rough day, but like
no, no, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
you know what I mean. But go in and like with my game face on, and it takes away that idle mind and that isolation.
oh, I
So
love that.
I find that those for me has been helpful if I don't want to necessarily ask for help specifically. It's a healthy distraction, and it's what I need to do anyway. I need to meet people.
Wait, Selena, can you give an example of these creative places? So I like,
I'm sure they have a million in LA, but I go on like Eventbrite or Instagram and I'll
oh,
look
yeah,
for events. Like I'll type in creative networking or acting networking or radio networking because I'm in
mm.
podcasts. So I'm like, I want to get deeper into the world of media. And then when you go, you ask, every time I go, I ask people there, oh, what's your next event? Like, what else are you going to? What other
Oh, so
things?
cool.
Then they give me more resources of like and places to check to go to
Mm.
these events. And I
I
find
love
it
that.
helpful because I like to be around creative people. Um, not saying other people don't have like value, but I tend to get along easier and feel
Yeah,
more
yeah,
connected with people who are in the creative world.
yeah.
Um, and
Me
so
too.
that's been really helpful. So I'm sure if you look like an Eventbrite, and then like I said, you keep going and you keep meeting people, and then you just learn about events. Does that make sense?
It does. I kind of want to try it. I mean, I'm trying, like I feel like the pandemic really made me socially awkward. I don't know. My social skills like deteriorated a little bit in quarantine. So now I'm starting to get back a little bit into it, but I get exhausted. But
Yeah.
something like that sounds like nice. Like I want to get back into it, you know?
Well, if it's any help, I never noticed your anxiety or social awkwardness. I know, and I haven't seen you since.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't because let me tell you, I am socially awkward. People call me out on it, and my anxiety is not bad right now. It's gotten better over the years, but it used to be really, really bad, and I still wrestle with it. But I know I used to not know what it was. Like when people were
Yeah, me too.
anxiety, they didn't talk about that when we were younger. Like
I
that
thought
really,
it's stress. I thought it's the same thing.
I was like, I don't know what's going on. But now that there's a name for it has been helpful. And then I meet a bunch of other awkward people and I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is fine.
I think like just creative people are awkward, and that's why we love to be around them because it's like, you know what? It's they understand.
So really what I'm saying is I just want to be around other weirdos. like,
Oh my God.
but not calling other people weirdos. I feel like a weirdo. And I just those
Oh,
are
I
my
love you,
people.
Selena.
Same
No, no, it's like the weirdest, but in the cutest way.
yeah, in a positive way. And I want to be
Yeah, in a
around
positive way.
them. So but we will stay in touch. You have to let me know how those things work
Definitely.
for you. Um, okay. When you feel like in your life, in your career, you feel like you failed, what do you do with those failures?
Mhm. Yeah. So in the world of animation and in Los Angeles, failure and rejection is rampant, is everywhere. I am being rejected as we speak. Like seriously,
Oh,
there's
I
so
know.
much rejection.
Yes. Yes.
You apply for tons and tons of projects and most of them don't pan out. Everybody's here are trying to, you know, to make it here, and you're like the competition is crazy. So I think number one is uh the mindset. So think of the failure as like I gained a shield, I gained like a thick skin. um uh, and also it's kind of like jealousy. It's like, oh, it's information, what do I need to work on? So like if I didn't get this job, uh well watch out to not let it reflect what like tells you who you are, because simply this is not true. It can be multiple things. It can be they found someone within the company. It can be they blah blah blah. Like it can be so many things. But so first of all, don't take it personal. It's life. Then it's information. Okay, so this thing needed color. Let's say, like for example, it needed color. A lot of my portfolio is black and white. I need to add more color. This is I really wanted this job. It was illustration, but a lot of my work is not. So okay, uh, getting information. So mindset, don't take it personal. Learn from it. Like get the information you need of like to improve. And third, I would say, especially in LA, it's really good to find a hobby. So like focusing on yourself. So when you get the rejection, when you get like the failure, you just like still have self-esteem because you're working on a project on your own, you know? You're like, yeah, you hate me, but I have something going on. So it's good to have a personal project or a hobby or something of your own that you're working on. And yeah, it's really really helpful.
That I'm rushing because I know we're sensitive to your time. You have like 10 more
Don't
minutes,
Yeah,
right?
don't worry about it. Yeah,
Um,
it's only because yeah, I have to walk the dog, but it's completely fine. It's completely fine. This is a lot of fun.
Yay. Okay. The wonderful thing, um, because I always try to tie everything up in a bow and like for the audience and for myself and like what I hear, don't let it tell you who you are. That is wonderful. I mean, amazing. And then having that project that helps your self-esteem. I was just telling a friend because he was like, how do you keep going on the podcast? You only have 60 subscribers. It'll be more. But and I'm like, it 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 gives me it makes me feel self-worth. It gives me self-esteem. And everyone who comes on the show, I hope this continues. It feels like what they tell me is that they get value from it too. So I feel like I get value, and then I'm adding value to that person. And that even if it's only one person, you're on the show. I hope my biggest hope is that you walk away from this and you can gain something as well, and like you feel good too. So it's like we made each other's day better, but
Oh my God, yes. I
that's
mean,
like, and so when all the rejection is pouring in, I still have this wonderful space that is very challenging sometimes. Not talking to the guests, but all the other stuff, all of the editing and trying to get listeners and booking guests. But this space is keeps me going when,
it's yours because it's your own.
yeah.
I mean, well, I have to say about the, well, number one, about the 60 subscribers, like we take these for granted. Like imagine sitting and talking to 60 people in a room. It's like, it's amazing and it's big deal. And just like you said, just one person taking something out of it is enough for like for me. And yeah, it's like, and the last time I did this podcast, actually I love this podcast, and it shows up in my like when it's really it gives me support. Like when I Google my name, I get like you plus happy, by the way. um like it gave me a lot of support, and it taught me things. Like the last time we talked, you guys taught me about like redefining success to what makes you happy. And success, that was actually a very a new concept to me, is that success doesn't mean money, kids and house, and you know, like you define success in a way that makes you happy. And it resonates with me every year, because like I've tried the getting money and just being in a relationship, and I wasn't happy. And now I'm like, oh, I think success is like not being so, not having a lot of money, but doing my own thing. And that was from You Plus Happy. So I love this podcast.
Thank you, Reem. I'm glad to hear that. And I that's a reminder to me too, because even though I do the show and we talk about redefining success for ourselves, like I've still fallen into some of the programming, right? Of
Sure,
like,
the rat race,
gotta,
yeah.
I'm at this age, so I need to be married. I'm at this age, so I need to have a certain thing. And it's like, I have to remind myself to, I have to program my mind and like not run on, society's program.
Absolutely,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's almost like, it's not, I don't want to say a fight because it's not resisting, but it's just consciously being like, okay, being aware of like the choices I'm making and making sure that I ask myself, where are these choices coming from? Where is this desire coming from? So I make
Oh, I
sure.
mean, I think it's a little bit of fighting.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to use that word, but like it is.
It is, because the mainstream is really strong, especially for women, like not being
Yes.
married for women. uh, can I tell you like this story like really quickly? I have a friend of mine. She just um like she just had like a relationship like hiccup, let's call it, and like she decided to cancel the wedding, you know. And the amount of like sympathy pouring from everyone. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I hope you feel better. Oh, it's like as if it's the worst thing that happened to her in her life. And she's like, she's working, she's really successful, she is paying her mortgage, like she has a house. So like people still saw her not being married, or like her canceling her wedding, as the worst catastrophe that ever happened to her, even though it's just a relationship. If that happened to a man, like people would be like, oh, he's free now, it's all good. But for a woman, it's like suddenly this huge thing. So I want to talk about that. Like, yeah, it is fighting the stereotypes of like um like the stereotypes of women needing to, like the most important thing about a woman to do is like to get married. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, it's not, I mean, it is sad to cancel plans, whatever it is, even if it's a birthday party. But what's important is that she's happy and she didn't get into into a commitment that is not good for her. So
Yeah.
it can
No,
be hard.
I 100% agree, Reem. And then I was telling you before we started the show today of like when I jumped into something to appease my need for like fitting into society, conforming into that, but also what was expected of me around me. Like, um, and then I felt like people thought that I wouldn't get in a relationship or serious, and like that no one would ever like want to marry me. And so I was like, I gotta prove them right. But there's a lot of layers that I hadn't considered until after. And I think it's important to like be, and I know other women who have done that. And then they're in these relationships that are, I mean, horrific. Some are horrific. So some of it's
Definitely.
like,
Life
I'm not
threatening.
happy. This, like their lives are like ruins. And
Yeah.
so and that's extreme, but it happens. And so I think it's really important for us to not jump into it, because guess what? We're the ones who have to be in that relationship, and we're the ones who have to deal with the consequences of the relationship.
Not the people. Yeah.
And so I got in this to appease you, and now I'm the one who has to deal with all the stuff that came after. You're just fine living your own life.
Mhm.
So I think
Agree.
I agree with you, Reem, of like, we got to make these decisions for us.
And it is bumping heads with society sometimes. Like it is like the mainstream is certain way. So it's good to keep reminding ourselves like society is, you know, like, is this my own thought, or is this like the society telling me I should be in a relationship right now? Like, for example, or is this me, or is society telling me LA is like where it's at and where I should be? Like it's sometimes it's really what's good for me is not what's like known to be successful. And that's something I learned in You Plus Happy.
Thank you. Something I still deal with, not as much, but and I this is the last thing I'll say about it. Even LA, when I left LA, just like what you just said, I was like embarrassed, because I was like, this is where you're supposed to be. This is the cool place. And this is like a respected, people, you tell people you live in LA and they're like, wow. And so that was something I wrestled with. I would have left sooner had I not been wrestling with what people were going to say. And I think it's experiences and wisdom and being older and like more secure in who I am. I don't
Exactly.
care as much about what people are going to think. Actually, I don't really give a damn at all anymore, really. And like, this is my life. I done did enough for y'all, for
Love
society,
it.
for
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
Like, I did enough trying to please y'all, and I was very unhappy. And so now it's like I'm making decisions for me, but it's also based on all the mistakes I've made too. So I know
Yeah,
like how to choose things a little bit better for who I am. And yeah, like I said, I live with these decisions, not you.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so like, but anyway, I think we're helping, Reem. I think we're helping people.
No, we are. And I mean, if no one, for me, it's like such a like cool conversation that it's like whatever. It's such a interesting, like, because we don't verbalize this stuff. You know, you like
No.
you live it, and but you don't talk about it that often. So it's like it's cathartic. It's really
Yeah.
therapeutic.
And I love that I get to talk to you about it and you get it. And like, yeah. So since we're talking about success and the show is about defining success for yourself, what is success to you now?
Oh, yes, I have better idea than the last time you asked me. I think success for me is to maximize the joy, like this is how I see life these days. And it might be, I don't know, it might be a little out there.
Okay.
Like, just bear with me. I
Okay.
see life as like suffering, like it's suffering, and then there's like these pockets of joy. And so I now my the way I see it is like I just want to maximize these pockets of joy in this sea of suffering. So like I'm working to, you know, like paid gigs in order to support myself financially, but then I know working my own project brings me joy. So success for me is making more of these personal projects as much as I can without like financially like breaking myself. I know success is to be myself, you know, so being in a relationship that takes away from myself and I conform to fit somebody else's world is not success for me, even if it's a relationship from the outside looks like a nice relationship. So
Mhm.
now I know success is to have like uh, relationships that affect me positively, whether it's friendship, whether it's like romantic. It's like, yeah, like having friendships and intimate friendships or like relationships that um support who I am, not take away and make me want to be somebody else, you know, change me or like I know relationship is all about like compromising, and it is you change a little bit for somebody else, but to an extent, not like
Yeah.
too much.
It
I
doesn't
think that's
change
what success these days to me.
the core of who you are. And I know what you said,
Right, the core.
yeah, like it, and what you said about suffering. I remember I read this book a long time ago. The opening line was "Life is suffering," and that's like um that's, I think it was a book on Buddhism, but that
Yeah.
stuck with me. And I told my friend, because one of my newer perspectives, and I listened to him because he's like, Selena, that sounds crazy. You sound like a nut. But I was like, and I don't tell anybody this. I've never said this to anyone except for him. But what started helping me was like remembering that I'm gonna die. And like I know it sounds crazy, but remembering that you can't get out alive, right? Like no matter what decisions I make, I'm not gonna be out here acting crazy and like doing wild stuff. But like with the risks and like being really, really, I know there is suffering, but being really, really unhappy in the things that I'm doing, or the relationships that I am in, like life, I'm not gonna make it out alive. So I might as well try to enjoy as much as I can, and put as much joy as I can out into the world. I don't always succeed at that. I'm human, but
Oh
I
my God, it's not crazy at all. It makes total sense.
and that's what I was saying. And I was just saying that to say, I know you said like, oh, this might be out here like this sea of suffering, and then you find pockets of joy. That well, first of all, that's like a visual that I love that's popping in my head, but also like I think it's, in that perspective may not work for everyone, but it's working for you. And I have a similar one of like, I'm gonna die one day. So like, and then it puts things like in perspective of like, does this even matter? Like, oh my, when I'm gone, does this thing that is this gonna matter? And
Yeah, yeah.
most times it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
So
so
I'm like,
true.
anyway,
No,
so
it really makes sense because like when you accept that it's gonna suck, it's
yeah,
really release what's the word? Freeing,
relief. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, well, life is hard. Okay, established. Because those who are like, life is great, it should be great every day. And you're like going like thriving toward like an impossible goal. So I'm like, it's
Mhm.
suffering, it's hard, we have to pay the bills, we have to work every day, we have to, so might as well find, just the things that we like to do and try to do it as much as we can
Mm.
and get some joy out of it. It's really helping me. Maybe if you ask me like next year, it will be something else, but right now, this works.
Yeah. That's why I was happy to have you on the show again, because I have the same questions, because like the same way I wasn't thinking this way I'm thinking now a year ago. And you
Yeah.
said next year, and I'm constantly, reading and talking to people and thinking and reflecting. I'm not gonna be, I might have some different stuff to say next year. Like
You're
I
growing. Yeah, you're
don't
growing and you're like evolving and you're
yeah.
learning. It only means that you're amazing because those who don't change, uh my ex used to say that he used to say like, oh, people don't change, people never change. I'm like, you're talking about yourself, right?
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
you believe people don't change, what makes you different than people? You are people,
Right.
um and
Yeah,
I do believe people change. I
I
really
do
do. Do
too.
you?
Yeah, especially and I was gonna say too, life experiences happen, right? So like something really wonderful could happen and it changes your perspective on life, or something that's like harder, like
Really terrible
a
happens,
death
yeah.
or something. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to, but that's a real life thing that happens. I know for me, when I've experienced death in my family, it changed my perspective and it changed the way I approach my life. And so
Yeah,
I think
the
people
pandemic, I'm sure it had like a way for us to see the world. It changed us as
yeah.
well.
And I know I've changed. I in my 20s, Reem, I was terrible. You didn't know me then. I met you in my 30s. I was not it was I don't like I'm glad that she was there, but I'm glad I have changed her, made her better. And I hope like, as I head into my 40s, it gets better and better and better. I'm never going to be perfect, but like you said, there's always evolution, right? And so
I heard, I saw the other day an article. Sorry to interrupt,
no.
but just to add to your point, people are talking about like their favorite age, and like the comment underneath it were all like, oh my God, my 40s. I'm in my 60s and I always imagine myself in my 40s. I love my 40s. My 40s was like the best. So I'm honestly, I'm kind of excited for my 40s. Like I heard I don't know, like this article, like is a lot of like older people in their 60s and 80s. They're saying, in my mind, I'm still in my 40s because it was like my favorite phase of my life.
Wow.
I know.
I'm struggling with aging in some way because of society stuff. Like I feel like they value well, in this culture, they value youth, but inside, and I don't want to look old, but
Yeah.
inside, I feel great. I feel better than I ever have. So I expect and I want to manifest it as I'm going to keep feeling better and better inside and like proud of who I am and proud of the things that I set out to accomplish that I have. And and
I
just
mean, yeah, like the people, like I think media makes us feel like when you're 40, you're like super old. But like I, I was watching like a show the other day called Silo. What's her name? Quincy Jones' daughter.
okay, Rashida Jones.
Rashida Jones
Mm.
was playing a 38-year-old woman part. She's like, I'm 38, I'm barely time for having children. And then I looked her up and she was 47. Like her real age is 47. So
Yeah.
like they make the people who look in their like almost 50, like they're telling us this is what 38 looks like. I'm like, this is all wrong. It's not, first of all, 38 is young and 47 is young, and like but like our wires is all mixed up because it's like you said, like the society favors youth, and it's somehow it's telling us like, oh, once you hit 40 immediately you're like gonna deteriorate. But like people are playing 38 on TV that are in their like almost 50. So like I don't, numbers don't matter. It really doesn't. And also aging means you made it. Like you made it. You didn't die. Like you actually, like we take it for granted, but like if we age, that means we still alive. That means we made it. It's a gift. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard. I struggle with aging, obviously, but I try to tell myself these things.
Okay. I don't think about it like that because I know people who don't care. My friends are around my age and they're like, I don't think about it. I just have another birthday. I'm like,
Oh,
that's
really?
yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how do y'all not care? But
Maybe they hide it very well.
I don't know. They seem to just not, it doesn't bother them. Well, I know they don't want to look like bad. They want to age well physically, but like as far as like where they are in life, they're fine. I'm like, you,
Mm,
I need
all right.
rub it off for me.
Alrighty, I'm like good. I'm happy for them. Honestly,
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna get some of it.
you should interview them and tell us the secret, of like
That's
not caring about
true.
aging.
I should. That would be helpful. Okay.
Mm.
Who or what's your biggest motivation?
Motivation.
Mhm.
Oh my God. I'm not proud of saying that, but we are honest here.
Yeah.
Right now, my motivation is fear. Unfortunately, I don't know. I need to be better at it, but I'm being honest. Fear of poverty, fear of being forgotten. Uh, I wish, like we talk, me and the therapist talk about like having fear, not the driver in the driver's seat. Like fear is a good motivation to be in the back or even in the trunk, but a driver, no good. It should come from something positive, but
Mm.
but I don't know right now. Right
Yeah.
now, this is where I am in life. Is the drive is coming out of like fear of not like fear of missing out, fear of I'll tell you, maybe to make it a little bit positive. Like I wrote this little booklet. I self-published this little booklet like last couple of months ago, and I try to have fun in every step of the process, because usually with personal projects, fear is driving. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss the deadline, I'm gonna like not finish it. So this one I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just have fun in every step of the way. And to my surprise, I finished that project. Other project that fear is leading, usually it's just I buckle. um so here, that's the positive thing I can offer, is that I'm learning that fun and finding joy should be the motivation. But I would be lying if I say it is right now. Right now, it's a little bit of fear in there.
I love that you're being honest. And it also sounds like with the other projects you let fear win, with this time it just didn't win. Like you pushed through it to get your book
Yeah,
done.
yeah. I experimented. Like I read this book. I actually really recommend it. It's
Okay.
called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. He's that musician, music producer. So really, really zen, and he's like really interesting, and he has like interesting things to say. And this book is all about the psychology of like being creative. And he believes every single one of us is creative. So every single one who's listening this can take away from it. And he says that. He says it's like it's about having fun in the process. It's I mean, it is about finishing it and having, having it done. But if you're not having fun, why do you think anyone would have fun like reading it or consuming it or like doing any of that? So I'm trying to be better at that, or like channel my thoughts toward joy rather than fear.
I didn't think about that. Like the energy you're putting into it during the process is going to bleed over, or like,
I guess, yeah.
you know, I don't know. That's a new way of thinking about it that I hadn't thought about. Because yes, a lot of
I
times,
mean, not necessarily. I know like the best shows in the world like had terrible time during production, but they hit it very well. But with personal projects, maybe it will show, or maybe you wouldn't want to do another one if you didn't have fun
right?
and if it was excruciating.
Yeah, because everything's the process, right? The final product is like the shortest part of any project, you know? Like
Yeah, yeah.
when I put this episode out, I will have like, we scheduled it. I'll have to edit it, and then all the stuff that goes on. But then I won't really think about the actual show, this episode again, except for like little
Yeah,
gems you've given me. But I'm
a
not
little
going to
bit here
watch
and
it,
there. Hmm.
again and again. So this part is what matters, like right now.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense. I hope I'm making
It
sense.
does. It does. The journey, really. It is, and it's really is. It really is.
Okay. I only have two more questions.
Okay.
Um, and I'm trying to think, what is something you hope people say about you when you're not in the room now?
Mm. I hope I always like to leave people with a positive, you know. I
Yeah.
don't want obviously for them to say like this nut was here. I think I want people to take some kind of like inspiration, motivation for them to be creative. I've I honestly like that's something I really want to do. Like I want to do workshops for young kids from Arabia, because a lot of them like are like they think they're not talented enough, they're not creative enough, they're not blah blah blah. So I honestly, one of my favorite thing is that if someone talked to me and afterwards I inspired them to do something artistic, anything creative, because I have so much fun doing it, and I wish it for other to enjoy this gift. Like I have a sister who's like only 18 months older than me, but we're so different. She also went and studied pharma. She's not creative, but she found like a lot of creative outlets when she started like teaching. It's like it's a part of performing, and we talked about it, and we realized like, yeah, creativity is within everyone, and um and I really really believe it. And so I hope when I leave a room, people in the room are inspired to do something creative. I think that's my answer. I want to say this time around.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it, Reem. And I hope you're able to help do workshops and do whatever you want to help the children. Like
I
help the
hope so.
children.
Yeah, helping. We need to help the children, Selena. We're that age.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Reem and I used to volunteer with young girls, and I
That's how we know each other.
yes. And I loved it. I loved, even though I don't know if I want, I don't like being around children every day, but I did like, if I'm being honest, but helping them, you know, feels really good in in that space.
It does, yeah.
It felt really, really good to
I
help.
feel like everyone in that in that like shelter, all the volunteers, they all had some like really, really positive like quality to them. Because like you could have done, like I went there to meet people and to like be a part of LA and see LA, but people can do it in so many ways, but we decided to do it in a giving way, and I like to pat us on the back for
Yeah,
doing that.
that was something, and like we were talking about before, of like we were like-minded in some way, because you said to
We
see it
are.
today, you could do it in different ways, but we chose to do it to volunteer, and then we kept coming back for years every week. So we made that commitment too, and
Oh yeah.
they don't require a commitment. They didn't,
Oh my
and
God, I didn't think of commitment. You're right.
yeah, and we kept coming back on our own. I know some programs require, a certain commitment for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And they were like, just
Uh-huh.
come in whenever you can. And we were like, we'll be here. Uh,
Yeah.
and it was very pleasant. All right. And we're talking about helping other people. And like, what piece of advice would you give to listeners who might want to become an animator? Yeah, what would you tell them to do?
Oh, don't do it. No.
Thanks. No, I want to say really quickly, I don't know about other industries, but I was thinking about, we chose, like, I want to be more in entertainment, and you're in entertainment in a certain way, the entertainment business, right? The industry. It's a
Mhm.
tricky, we did choose a tricky industry.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like, if we had
No,
went,
it's true.
if we had went into like healthcare,
Yeah. Not very stable. It's volatile. Yeah.
right. And like if we were doctors, we would have jobs. Like, if we were nurses, we would have jobs. This is like, you don't know, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. Exactly. Like there are incredible people right now that are okay. I have a good answer for you. Um, okay, so number one, people of color, we need to tell our stories, because white people, we have been telling their stories for millions of like for two since the invention of television and all of that.
Mhm.
No, we have to tell our stories, and we have to learn how to tell a compelling story. And uh, animation and entertainment and any form of entertainment is all about storytelling. It's all about learning how to tell a story. So anyone who is interested in animation, learn the technique, but also don't forget to tell your own story. Like use the technique to tell your story, because because we need it. We just need it in this world. It's very important, and if you want to do it, that means you can do it. Because people don't, like don't care. The people who don't care really don't care. But if you have been, it's on your mind. You keep doing it. You keep like drawing. You keep like watching. You're interested. That means you're passionate about this thing. So cultivate it, like you say, like cultivate it and learn the technique for it, but tell your own stories. You don't have to go to the academic ways. Now there is tons of information on YouTube, tons of information on tutorials. Like there are online schools that um, uh, offer classes here and there, so you don't have to go into like depth with student depth to get a degree. Because if you have like the talent and the information, you can do it on your own. And most people don't look at diplomas like in the animation industry.
Yeah.
um and know that animation, I know you know as well, Selena, there's so much in animation. Like it's not only drawing or animating, it's also you can work in sound, you can work in compositing, you can work in the production side of it, which is like facilitate teams and organize and create budgets, and these are all making animation. It's all part of the animation making. So yeah, I think my advice is, before spending too much money on a degree, do your research online for for classes that are cheaper, or YouTube channels, or stuff like that. Number two, don't forget, learn the techniques, but don't forget about your own story. Like you have to tell, like you have to learn the technique to tell a good story, to tell, and I'm saying, not, it doesn't have to be your biography. Anything you decide, like any idea that comes to you, it comes from your DNA. Like
Mhm.
it has your experience in it, even if it's just one joke. It has your DNA on it. So like make things, like not just like aspire to like, oh, I want to work in this company. I want to like make things, and that usually get those big companies notice, get those producers notice, because they see that you have something to say, not just like the tools to say it.
Yeah.
um and reach out, like if someone is interested and they want like more specific advice about their portfolios or how to get a portfolio or any questions, honestly feel free to reach out to me. I'll give my email.
Okay. Um, and what you said about not you, you don't have to go to school and get into debt if that's not like an option for you or something, because that industry is more about your portfolio or more about just showing what you can do versus like what that you went to the most prestigious school
I
or what.
mean, listen, like, prestigious schools always get you connections and all of
Right.
that. So if you have, you should. But if you don't have the means, that doesn't mean you're not, you can't do it, because there's a lot of resources online.
Yeah.
And there's some classes, like there is something called an online school called Warriors Camp or Concept Design Academy, or the one I'm going to be teaching in is called uh, Los Angeles Figurative Art Academy. And these offer like, oh, and there's also what was it called? Oh my God. I can send a few links. So these schools, like instead of offering like a full program, you just get classes that exactly what you want to do. Like you want to do layout or you want to do character. So you learn your perspective, you learn your anatomy, you learn all these things without like being in thousands of dollars of debt. But if you can, do it, because connections.
Yes. So and then I was also thinking too of like two things. If you want to go if let me try to say it as succinctly as possible. I feel like if you're being called towards something, you should go towards it, and you'll figure out what works for you on the way. Because I don't know if I thought I loved acting and wanted to do that, but along the way I started the podcast and I love the podcast. But when I was coming up, there was no such thing as a podcast, and so
Oh,
and I'm saying that to say, if you are drawn to animations and you might not, like you said, specifically be an animator, but if you go towards it, you'll find out all these other things that are intertwined with it, or like that are still in that industry and that world, and it's
yeah,
things that are not um common knowledge that I know people
exactly.
know, like even with acting, like they don't know all the roles that, and like you know about production, all the different roles there are in that space. And so I'm so glad you were like, there's not just drawing and animation, there's layouts, there's so many other things to think about. So
I
if you,
know, like even on the production side, like people end up making more money sometimes because they become producers and they become execs and they like have the means to have more decision making than drawing. Like some people were like, oh, I want to draw, but like doesn't have to be drawing. It can be many things. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. There's so many options. And then the other thing real quick is like, if somebody's not going to go to school for it, and they're doing self-guided things, because that's all that they, not even all, maybe you just want to get your feet wet, or that's what you can afford. I'm thinking for me personally, and I hope this helps someone, of like, I'm not good at sticking with something long term as a self motivator or by myself. So I either get something that has a deadline involved, or I
Mm.
promise myself to do, okay, I'm going to do an hour a day for
Mm.
5 days. When I was getting a certification for fitness, it was self guided, and I wanted it so badly, but I had to make a schedule for studying because there's nobody to hold me accountable, right? It was
Oh
a
my God,
deadline
yeah.
to take the test, but I need like structure. And I know everyone isn't like this. I'm
Me
just saying
too.
for someone who does need that, you can create that for yourself of like, okay,
Yes.
an hour a day I'm gonna do this, or 2 hours a day. And I don't know how long you should draw a day, but what you would be better at the specifics. But I'm saying creating some kind of structure or rules for yourself, and you can change them. If like the first week you try something, like that didn't work for me, adjust.
Oh my God, this is gold. The adjustment, it's gold. Like someone told me, a schedule is a living thing. So it's like if it's not working, I used to be like, okay, I failed. Like this
You do.
schedule is too hard. I can't do schedules. No, no, no. It's change the schedule and it
Yes.
might work. Ah,
Yeah.
very. I love it.
Trial and error, right? Like, and so I was just throwing that out there. And then the last thing I'm saying, what you said, if you want to do it, you can do it. That is a Reem quote, and it is amazing. Because it's like we're not drawn to something for no reason. Like I'm not drawn to be a doctor. That sounds like hell to me. Like studying like body part, like I don't no way. But so and I'm so glad other people want to do it because we need them, right? But I'm saying that to
I
say
know.
you're drawn to something specific for a reason.
Yeah.
And if you go towards it, you'll find out why.
Oh my God. Like if I can I like elaborate just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like all the kids, like Syrian or Arab creatives, they reach out to me. They always have like, can I do it? I don't know if I have it in me. I don't know. Like they don't understand that those that you reach out to me. Not a lot of people, like you reaching out tells me that you want it, that you are, you really want it. But what they end up doing is they look at these artists, who are who had a lot of resources given to them. They were born in countries that have programs, or they were born into supporting parents, or they were just encouraged when they were kids, like many 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 things. And they think it's talent. They're like, oh, I don't have the talent. I'm like, no, you have everything. And what you don't have, it's a resource that this unfair world created. So don't focus on like, I can't do it, I can't do it. Just focus on, okay, what is the resources that I need to be able to do, because you can do it, because you want to. Like other people don't reach out to me, other people don't care, don't make portfolios or draw every day. You and the people who tend to reach out to me on like social media, like the young artists, they tend to be like really good drawers. They tend to be like really like obviously passionate, like, because those who are not passionate, they don't usually have the question of like, do I have it? They don't care. And sometimes they think they're amazing. But those that, like those that have the passion, like they have these questions, they have these like, fire in them that is not, like, or hunger.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. Like if you want it, you probably can do it.
Yeah. Even the questioning is telling you that it's something that matters a lot to you.
Mm-hmm,
I didn't think
mm-hmm.
about that. Wow.
Yeah.
Like I
It took
want to
me
be.
so long. Like it took me so long to know this, until like I started hearing the young generation how they think. I was like, oh my God, I'm like that. Or I used to be like that.
Yeah. Wow. I think a lot of gems here today, and it's like a cliche term, but it's like I think talking about your world of animation is so important. And I don't think it should be ever taken for granted, because I don't think it's an industry that people talk a lot about, like mainstream,
Oh.
like working in
Hmm.
it. And I just think it helps open people's eyes that there's so much
Oh.
like you may not be exposed to, that
Yeah.
options for you. And that goes for any industry of like, you might just see like certain things, but just research it and see what else is available to you, and what try and just try things.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't know if you're good, if you like it, without trying it.
Yeah.
And we not to go back to that, but honestly, like the animation industry is like a little too white. Like we need people of color, we need diverse like stories. Uh it's about time we tell our stories. It's about time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know about animation world as much as you do. I agree. Thinking about other like where I work.
Everywhere can use a little bit
Yeah, I was gonna
diversity.
say because I a voiceover artist. I know this was like off subject, but I was like, oh my God, we need more Black voiceover artists. Like when I look for like if a client asks
Really?
for
It's also lacking?
it's beyond, like it's insane. Like if a person asks for a Black voiceover artist, there are Black voiceover artists, but nowhere near as many
No,
white.
I
Nowhere
believe it.
near. I think it's like you're saying, I think it's like I was saying earlier, I think it's an exposure thing. I don't think
Yeah.
they're even thinking about being, it's just an exposure thing. So I try to tell anybody I meet, if they express any kind of interest in anything in the industry of entertainment, I'm like, just try being a voiceover artist, please. We need you, please.
Wow.
We do, and I'm
Wow.
not saying white people shouldn't try either, but of course everybody.
They
But
are.
shortage of people of color,
Yes,
um,
yes.
from what I see, and there's a demand. So it's not like no one wants people of color. It's not that at all. But we got to show up too, and I think it just goes back to exposure. I never thought about being a voiceover artist because I didn't know anything about it. But you
Yeah,
hear,
you don't know it's a career option. It's like an option to make a
yeah,
living. You just don't like
lucrative one too.
and also like I mean my culture is like they all the like I got lucky with my family, but most of the dads and moms want their kids to be engineers and like take the path of like more secure. Like I completely get it, but
Yeah,
I guess it's good to show that no, it's a viable way of making a living, like
yeah,
totally, and with
yeah,
many different ways. It can be, you know, on the art side or on the administrative side. So
yeah. There's so many options these days for, like you said, viable careers, and we just gotta. We have these computers, and now, and we just gotta like search, just do the research, whatever you
yeah,
want to do. And
very true.
yeah, and oh, this is my last thing for real. And we're surrounded by animation all the time. We take for granted. Like I was at the bank and there was
Oh,
animation on the TV of like before the bank, like we're open this day, like, but it was animated. And since I work in animation, I know that someone drew that and took
exactly.
hours and was hired and paid for that. And we're around voiceover artists all the time. Every commercial you hear is a voiceover artist.
Oh, right,
So
right.
you're always every commercial you hear is a voiceover artist. So even
Oh my God, it never
actors,
even occurred to me.
yeah. So you hear them all the time. Um, and
And like with the more screens, like we like back in the day, there's magazines and stuff. Now it's all screens. Everything is animated. Everything there, it has like voiceover.
yeah, yeah. So it's out there. People are hiring. This is like anyway. That's finally it. I promise, Reem. Do you have anything else you want to add before we close out?
Oh, I just want to thank you so much for having me again on the show. And it's always so much fun. It's always a pleasure. I I thank you for all the wisdom you gave me, and I hope I said something that inspires someone to be more creative. Um, yeah, but thank you.
I'm sure that you have. And thank you, Reem. It's always, we don't get to talk that often, but it's such a pleasure when I do get to talk to you. I think you're so wise and
Likewise.
um, and understanding, and I feel free. I could talk to you forever. I feel like I could
Me
tell you
too.
all my business and you will understand and not judge me.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same. Likewise. And you have to come visit me in LA, Selena.
I just went to a party with my friend. He lives in LA, and I'm trying to like make a trip. So if I do, when I do, I will definitely let you know.
Look, I have a really comfortable couch. You have a place, you know? So, you
Yay!
know, so
Yes,
just come visit.
I will. I will. I'm gonna take you up on that. I haven't recorded
Yes, yes, take
the
me up
verbal
on it.
contracts. Okay.
And you'll see how it feels like living with a dog.
Good
He's
dog.
so mad at me.
Oh, okay. We gotta go
Look
because
at him.
dog needs to go out. Where is he? Oh, he's looking out. Is he looking out? Is he looking at you?
Yeah, he's like one of my look at him.
Come on,
Oh
bro.
my
I'm
God.
ready to
It's
go
so
out. Okay. All right.
but I really hope, yeah, I really hope to come to you come visit soon. And we'll have all these conversations and
Yes.
yes.
Okay, it'll almost be like a retreat because we'll have so much.
Oh,
We'll laugh, but we'll have really important conversations too. Um,
yeah.
okay, thank you for sharing your time with us, Reem, and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves. And thank you for listening. Remember to like, comment, and share this episode. Please review. We really appreciate your feedback. Subscribe to the You Plus Happy channel on YouTube. And I want to get all the links from you, Reem, and put them in the show notes. But the name of your book that you just self-published.
Oh, yeah, it's called A Day in the City of Sham Jadid. It's I will send the
Oh,
links to you. It's on my website or it's on in the Time Travel Mart. If yeah, I'll send all these links for the listeners, and I appreciate it ahead of time.
yes. Okay, perfect. And I will also put your Instagram on in the show notes. Follow Reem because she posts really beautiful work. So you can see it
Oh,
on
oh
Instagram
my
right
God, you're
now.
so sweet.
Go. Go. What is it at Reem? I
Oh,
don't
at Reem Ali Adeeb, you're so sweet. I'll definitely uh it's just my name.
okay, thank you.
But yeah, we'll get you all the links for sure.
Okay. All right. Check out her work. I'm serious. It's beautiful. And so we'll see you next week. We ask our guests to say our tagline, which is we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Mm. We'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Yay. Thank you, Reed.
No
All right.
problem.